Loaves Fishes Pantry in Devens, Massachusetts has a mission of love and faith to provide food and temporary support services to residents of Ayer, Devens, Groton, Harvard, Littleton, and Shirley. Loaves Fishes Pantry advocates for changes by its clients that will promote independence and self-reliance. In 1983, knowing there were people in their neighborhoods who were making the choice between buying food and paying rent, 3 friends decided to take action.
My dear wife Charlene, who was a big part of this, talking about the mission statement and the word love. I think Charlene, in addition to feeling great about everything that Loaves of Fishes stands for, her mission in life, I've heard her tell other people, what is our purpose on earth? And she'd always say, to love one another.
The Loaves and Fishes Pantry was soon born. The response from neighboring towns was astounding.
But I've seen it going from taking all the food in down at the Jack-o'-lantern on the food drives. Then we'd take it over on Wednesdays over to St. Andrew's Church. They'd bag it up on Thursday. Then we'd carry it from St. Andrew's over to the Federated Church, and we'd give out, everybody would get 1 bag on Friday. And that was it, and we'd probably do anywhere from about 25 people on a Friday.
In 1997, Loaves and Fishes moved its entire operation under one roof on Vicksburg Square in Devens. Here, the pantry grew to meet the needs of the community more efficiently. From Vicksburg Square, we temporarily relocated to a building on Buena Vista.
And when we moved from the church to 43 Buena Vista, we had a few little rooms, but it was enough space, so I said, you know what? We can go to client choice.
Today, we are in our permanent new home located on 234 Barnum Road in Devens. We are very thankful for an amazing capital campaign that raised $1.4 million to both fund the development of our new home and endow its ongoing operations.
And I said, what's on Barnum Road? Well, it turned out it was a decrepit building that really should have been torn down. And I took Elizabeth Lowell to see the building, and I had told her that it would seem to me we should tear it down, put up one of those steel buildings, and, you put it up overnight. And she looked at our place, water on the floor, mold on the inside, mold on the outside. And she said, you know, Bob, I think that's not a bad idea. And anyway, we proceeded and raised the money and bought it and redid it. It's so attractive today, and it was such a mess. It really, I felt, should be torn down because there was no saving it. I clearly was wrong. It turned it into quite a nice place.
And it's really hard to ask people to donate money to a food pantry and know that it's paying electricity and utilities and insurance and things like that. So what you really want to do is raise an endowment to cover those things. So I think instead of raising $800,000, you need to raise like 1.2, 1.3 and have... And as Bob said, with Elizabeth's help and the hard work of the board and everything, we raised $1.4 million against a goal of 1.25.
Loaves and Fishes' most valued asset is, and has always been, the generosity of the community it serves.
It just seems like from day one, this program was owned by the community. You know, whether it was North Middlesex Bank and Bill Marshall doing Christmas gift drives for us and raising cash, Phil Berry sponsoring golf tournaments, the boys at the fire department and the police department.
I don't know how many people realize how many times one can was handled before the client actually got a hold of it. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it was probably as archaic as it could possibly be, but yet everybody did it happily. And that, I think, is amazing.
You know, I don't know whether we took the time to say, this is really good. Maybe we did, you know? Yeah. I mean, I guess we were caught up in doing it rather than being philosophical and looking back and saying, wow, that was really good.
Hundreds of volunteers work over 20,000 hours a year to ensure that the needs of the nearly 1,000 client families that we serve are met with dignity and respect.
I feel I'm doing something useful, and I like to help people.
Martha McCune was the longtime director of the Air Community Kindergarten and Nursery School at the Federated Church, where we would give to like a little brownie troop or a member of the Rotary Club or someone or some group the name of a family and who was in the family, and they would get gifts for that. Well, for that family. Well, it got to the point where we had more families than we had Girl Scout troops and Rotarians and whatnot. And so Martha organized the first, and I'm not, probably did 10 or so more Christmas programs where she arranged the tables and made sure that the gifts were out, and there'd be like one 8-foot table with gifts for girls between, say, 2 and 6, and the other one for boys between 2 and 6, and teenagers, so that it really was a wonderful a program.
Maybe 10 years, as long as 10 years ago, 2 ladies, Marie Allen and Joan Penna, said to themselves, I wonder what it would feel like to be a kid who got Christmas presents on Christmas but couldn't give his parents a Christmas present. And their brainchild was Shop for Your Parents. And they partnered with Job Corps. The culinary kids there do a spectacular breakfast for the children and their parents. And then the parents are left in a rather uncomfortable waiting room while the kids go off with their own personal shoppers. And there's a new present for each kid in the family, for mom and for dad. And there was a grandparents' table. And then there was a table with picture frames and candles and that sort of thing. There was a table of gently used jewelry. And then the best part of all is at the end, the kid takes it over and we wrap it for them.
Our community partners provide a wide range of essential support, from people to goods and services to financial contributions. Our partners inspire individual supporters through their generosity and leadership. Our partners often gain as much as they give as the communities we serve show their appreciation through patronage, and their employees become stronger teams while volunteering.
Most of the time they came to Loaves Fishes. It wasn't Loaves Fishes went to them and, my company would like to do a food drive, or, for Christmas we decided rather than have an office party, here's the $1,000 that we, and people are just so incredibly generous. It brings you to tears. What they will do for this mission, and it's got to be that somehow, for all the people that we help as our friends, we're helping other people to be in touch with what Charlene was all about, is something, the most important part of what's inside here somewhere. And this program touches them, I think, just as importantly as it touches the folks who come here and meet with the stewards and then go see the food distributors and leave with a couple of days of groceries.
We serve your and our neighbors and friends. They are the working poor, the elderly, the single parent, and people with disabilities. They come from every ethnic group and are faces familiar to us all. They are the people you meet on the street, at church, in the store, and at school. We have never turned away anyone in our community who was in need of food.
But I think there's another mission just as great, more difficult to weigh. It may be invisible. It's what we seem to do for all the people to whom we give an opportunity to be a part of something beyond oneself that's real, genuine, and important.
A big part of Loaves of Fishes, and a big part of its support today, is the Good Friday Walk. And Ruthie is probably the most famous of all the Good Friday walkers.
Only because I lived long enough.
We were just talking about the fact that she would not do just 20 miles, but 30 miles.
I remember coming into the Congregational Church in Harvard after doing 20 miles and saying, I wish I knew somebody that was a real entrepreneur who would sponsor me for more. Because back then we got sponsored by the mile.
Right.
So anyway, it ended up that for like 4 years, I had some of those people sign my paper for 100 miles. I mean, for $100 per mile. And I walked 30 miles. So they wrote checks for $3,000, and a good bit of that came to Loaves and Fishes. So the Good Friday Walk has been another way that Lynn and Charlene and Pam and a whole bunch of others moved on or moved with the pantry to having this big fundraiser.
Yeah.
Well, it started on a sporadic basis. Like, I had heard about Loaves and Fishes, and I would help out every time they had something, maybe like something special, a Thanksgiving giveaway dinner or something like this they wanted some help with. I would start doing that. And then when I had took early retirement and had time in my hands, I started coming in on a regular basis, like on a Friday, back in 1993, which makes it 20 years at least.
Yeah.
So all told, I think probably between Barbara and I both, we've been on about 25 years each. And then back when they first moved over here, before they moved over here, I met this woman in my post office one time, and she said, I wish I could find something for my husband to do. He's driving me crazy since he retired. So I said, well, tell him to come over to Loaves and Fishes. Send him over here next Friday and let him talk to me. And from then on, Dave Swain became one of the key people in this thing, in getting this building ready and getting all the refrigeration and freezers going and everything, and really taking a real big part to this whole thing until he...
Stewarding distinguishes our food pantry from other agencies. Stewards sit one-on-one and listen with understanding and empathy to the complex situations of our clients. The steward then makes decisions along with a staff mental health professional about how a client may be most effectively helped. Addressing the unique needs of the individual provides the most appropriate support and resource referrals to promote empowerment and self-reliance.
You know.
Well, something I think needs to be brought up here is the function of the steward. Our pantry is unique, as far as I know, in that nobody ever comes here for food that he doesn't talk to either a lay counselor or we've got a mental health professional now.
Early spring, there was a woman's walk for cancer that was coming through Concord. It snowed one night, and they canceled the remains of the walk. The phone rang at the pantry. It was a woman from one of the rest stops on the walk, and she said, since the walk has been canceled, I have all these oranges and bananas that need a home. Would you like to have them? So I was sure. So I hopped in the truck and went running down there. And I said, Concord is not part of our service area. What made you think of us? And she looked at me and she said, a number of years ago, my husband walked out on me and 3 little boys, and Loaves and Fishes helped us.
In 1999, we were in the basement over at Buena Vista. Why? Well, I really had a feel to help. People were so friendly. PJ, I remember, was the person in charge then. Then Debbie, they made me feel really at home.
All he'd ever wanted his whole life was a front end loader and a tractor for Christmas. His whole life was 4. He was 4 years old. And his mom had gotten him the tractor at the Christmas giveaway. And he was telling me about it at the steward desk. And we happened to be doing Grandparent Day that day. And I went into the conference room, and there was the front end loader. And he got his front end loader and his tractor.
That's what keeps you coming back.
It's what keeps you coming back.
Yeah.
Plus, all the volunteers are like family. It's an amazing organization.
I had little Subarus, so I could only pick up so many potato chips. I did the best I could, but I couldn't see going back home. but I did it. And what's been fun for me today was that I remember all your names because I used to do the scheduling.
Two volunteers and I were busy putting up shelving, put these canned goods on. And it was commercial shelving, but well used. But the sheets of metal were hard to maneuver. And they had to be separated by the width of that square post. And that's where I put 2 large cans of tuna fish between the sheets, and they are still there. Another reason some people never leave Loaves Fishes is they get married.
When I think of Loaves Fishes, I always think about how, I mean, we've all been involved, so we all know there's that special feeling about it, and things happen. Like, it's happened for a reason, however you believe that is, but it happens. And obviously, food has showed up just when we need it, things have showed up, but people also always show up, just the right people that we need at the right time, and everybody here is part of that network, right? Of we needed those skills and those abilities and that personality, whatever it was at that time. My favorite story about this is, and a lot of you have already heard this, but when we were going from being part of the church to a grown-up organization, our own 501c3, we had to do inventory for the first time. This was traumatic for some people. We had to count all the cans of peas and all the cans of tuna and do our financial report. And there's a knock on the door. This young lady walks in, oh, I'm a student at MIT, I'm home for the summer, do you have anything you want me to do? She went through, did the inventory, put in a spreadsheet, extrapolated everything out, it was done, and she left, we never saw her again. It was just so typical Loaves and Fishes angel that showed up, did what we needed, and then gone. And to me, again, that's just the typical Loaves and Fishes story. So,
a young man who would not have come ordinarily came with us. And gradually he's come to accept getting his food and everything. But one day, recently, someone said, gee, there's a pair of shoes. He would never go to the clothing area. And she said, gee, there's this great pair of shoes, but it's an odd size. Do you suppose he might wear them? I said, well, ask him. Well, that pair of shoes made one heck of a difference in his life. You know, he'd run out of the others. They were dilapidated. And that shoes meant everything to him. I'd come back forever for something like that. It's priceless.